Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode in the Health Begins with Mom podcast. Today on the show, I'm doing this super exciting interview. I have no idea where we're going to go with this, but I'm so excited. We're talking to Jennifer Bronswick. Jennifer is, I actually don't even remember how I met you, Jennifer. I think from one of the online forums on Facebook.
Yeah.
So Jennifer is passionate about supporting mothers just like me to heal from burnout and families. She also loves to see families more resilient. And as a mother of 3 daughters under 9, I can't believe this, but I also am a mother of 3 daughters under 9, and a survivor of postpartum depression and anxiety. Jennifer knows exactly how challenging motherhood can be. She also knows that there is hope for all of us, and with accurate information, support, and inspirations, mothers and families can actually thrive. Yes to that. Jennifer's years of clinical experience as a social worker and her own personal journey gives her the unique ability to guide individuals on their path to health and wellness. And you can also learn more about Jennifer at themindfulfamily.com, and all the links are going to be shared in the show notes below, so don't freak out. Okay, so hi Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to see where this interview goes. It's sort of like a mystery.
I know. I love all mystery, mysticism, whatever it is. Just the other day, I told my husband, honey, I love when you surprise me. So I totally.
Be careful.
Yeah. No, I mean, good surprises.
Yeah.
So my first question to you, Jennifer, is this podcast is obviously for moms. It's called Health Begins with Mom. And actually the majority of listeners are mothers of daughters like you and I. I also have 3 girls.
Okay.
And the biggest and the most important teaching, I guess, that I'm working on passing on to the women and mothers is that as mothers, we are healers. And actually we can and we know how to heal ourselves, how to heal our families, and eventually our communities and the world at large. So yeah. I think a great place to start our conversation today would be by sharing a little bit about your story and how you have and still are, because it's a never-ending process, healing yourself and your family, and about the work that you do in the world, which is, I think, basically how you are healing the world.
Yeah. So, I mean, our stories are so unique and interesting. And I think that where we are all so similar is that there's often a pain, there's a challenge, there's something that happens in our life that puts us at a fork. And so we have to choose, like, are we going to figure this shit out? Or are we going to just, lay down and give up? And so always for me, the fork has always been anxiety. So that has always been the thing in my life that is my sort of awareness tool of you're off track, mama. Like you need to get your acts together because something is not right. Something either, and I always look at, my own well-being from a holistic standpoint. So it's either going to be something in my physical body, something from my energetic body, my spiritual body is out of alignment, or my emotional body, my mindset, my brain, these things are not in balance. And so, I've had anxiety since I came out of the womb, I think. I had seizures as a young child. I was 2 when I started having seizures. And
febrile seizures or just
no, like seizures,
anxiety?
Like grand mal seizures.
Wow.
That they, never could really figure out what why, what was happening. What my dad left the door open once and I fell on my head. So could be something connected to, maybe a
God.
brain injury.
Right.
We don't
Do
know.
you
I'm not
still
blaming
have
my
them?
dad. It probably isn't. Let's not blame.
I know, no, of course not. But do you still have them or?
No.
Oh,
So
wow.
the seizures that I had, and I didn't know, like the information now about the brain and seizures is so different than it
Yes.
was, I'm almost 40, so 40 years ago. But, I don't remember them. That's the beauty of seizures, is that you don't have the memory, but your family and your loved ones have the
Yes.
memory of seeing you go through that.
Yeah.
And, I think we take on those fears, so the fear of my parents was sort of inherited and dropped into me. And then once I learned about human design, this made much more sense to me because of where, my energy is open, where I'm receiving from other people is in the emotional center, or at least one of them. And so, I took on this anxious person, anxious about parties. I didn't leave my town for college. I stayed in my hometown. And, thankfully through that time, I was able to get to the point where I wasn't willing to, how do I say this, to shrink my life, to shrink the things I wanted to do in order to feel safe.
Yes.
So I moved to Italy in college. So I lived in Italy for about 3 months. And that, I think, was sort of this like, okay, I can be very afraid of, like, I was afraid of having a seizure. Like, what do I don't know, Italian medical systems. At that point, I was still on medication. And I actually didn't get off medication until I was going to have children. And the medication I was taking was very dangerous for babies.
Wow.
And so I kind of had to suck up again that what I wanted was bigger than my fear of having a seizure. And I had to trust that, like, my scans were all good. There was no evidence I have another seizure. And it's sort of like, every time you have to say, okay, I'm just going to leap. I'm just going to trust that the universe is going to show up and protect me. Or if not, if I had a seizure, that there would be people around me that are protecting me, or angels, or whoever, God, something would also be there so that I wouldn't be alone in this fear.
Right,
And
but the idea is that you are safe, that you are going to be safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even if I'm not safe, that I'm trusting that there are so many amazing people out there that will come, like, they will come. So anxiety, that's been, I think a lot of us, like maybe moms can relate to that, like that feeling, that fight flight feeling feels so terrible.
Yes.
And it is a great motivator. Our pain is such a gift, if we can choose to look at it that way. And that's how I've chosen to view it at this stage in my life. If you read any of my blogs, you'll know, like, back in the day, I was victim. I was like poster child for victim consciousness, and everybody else is to blame, and it's not my fault, it's you, it's them, it's seizures, blah blah blah, the whole story. And at some point you just get tired of that and say, okay, like, I need to take responsibility for what I have control over, which is my physical well-being, my mental well-being, and my spiritual well-being. And so it's an everyday journey. Like, I will never be there, whatever there looks like. I will always get out of alignment, but hopefully my anxiety will kick in just enough to give me a message of, like, okay, like, something's got to shift here. So that's sort of my, roundabout journey. I would say it's always been, so, anxieties after babies gave me my mindfulness practice. It taught me about human design because I was anxious about my business. And then the right thing, showed up in my inbox of, do you want to understand how your energy operates in the business realm? My anxiety after my third baby led to a book on postpartum healing and burnout. So it's always been this sort of, like, dance. And of course, like, I'm coming onto this interview from a very good mental place. But I can say that 3 months ago, I was not in a great mental space, with anxiety and a lot of like I mentioned, I'm turning 40. So there's a lot of hormonal things happening and shifts in my body that are not what I'm used to. And so, figuring all of that out. And, so I know this will not be the last time that shows its face.
Right. I think I love so many things that you mentioned. I think number one that I want to comment is about the common thread, which requires courage, right? Because those things that come up for us again and again and again, it's like you said, right? We come to this fork and we have to choose every single time we choose. Do I go this? Do I go here? Do I choose the path of just complete unconsciousness and blaming the world and blaming everybody else and blaming the condition and blaming this? Or am I actually taking responsibility and saying, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for me to learn about myself, which is where I love the human design. And we're going to talk about this because I know people are like, what the heck is that? So we're going to get deeper into that. But I love that. And then the second thing that you mentioned is that it's almost like it's not going to go away. It's always going to be there. And again, here you also need courage because it's almost like you need to just make peace with the fact that it's here and it's there and it's not a punishment. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Totally a gift. And I think this is so amazing. And one last thing that I want to tell you from the work that I do, I work mostly with mothers. And like I said, they're mothers of daughters. So this dynamic of mothers, daughters, it's like a recurrent thing in my practice. And what I've noticed is that in order for us girls, women, to safely and fully transition into adulthood, we must first truly heal from our childhoods, because our childhood brings a lot of wounds. And I think, again, this is where choice again comes into play, is that we have to choose to let it go and to allow ourselves to fully be expressed as the people that we are. Because if we are allowing ourselves to be stuck in our childhood, bringing fears and anxiety and all of that, then we are not going to live up to our fullest potential as adults. And so I call this the process of adulting. So I said, I've sort of picked up on so much from your introductions. Thank you so much. And so let's talk about, your work. So you mostly do human design charts, right? So let's first start by defining what the heck is that. Okay. And then we'll dive into the next part.
Yeah. So what is human design? Human design, the way that I view it, is really a awareness tool. And there's lots of awareness tools in the world. And I think they're all amazing. And I hope that, people can connect with some sort of awareness tool, like whether it's like numerology or, soul path numbers. Like there's so many different ones out there. It's just finding the right one. For me, human design, the minute I saw a headline in my email of, do you want to understand your own unique energy blueprint? The minute I heard that question was asked to me, like immediately my body was like, yes, like I'll pay whatever you want to know, because I felt like something was missing. Like I have been working my butt off doing all the things that you're supposed to do. And, especially in the business world, like, there's supposedly there's a path or a pattern that if you follow this path, then you will, riches will follow, right. This sort of magical thing. And it wasn't working at all, like not at all. And so I was like, okay, yes, tell me this. And the minute I saw my chart, which if you look at it, I'm happy to send anybody a free chart. Like you see all these different numbers and shapes and centers and gates, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Once you see it, you'll know. And I saw it and I was like, that's me. Like, that's my energy. Like, I felt this immediate like connection.
Right. You identified with it.
Yeah. I was like, this is amazing. Like, the language was, it could have been, I don't speak Spanish, but with Spanish, like any other, like, it made zero sense. So like, she sent me all this information. I was like, whatever, like, no clue what you're talking about. But I kept coming back to it. And then I would, look up one thing and be like, oh my God, like, I'm a projector. Like, that's why it's not working. I'm not here to work like other people. I don't have the energy or the aura like other people, always drawing things. And what this did was it just opened up the floodgates to self-compassion. And I think that is and it could have come through any million different ways.
Yes.
But for me, it came through human design. And it was this self-awareness and this self-compassion of like, holy cow, nothing's wrong with me. I've just been, believing what other people told me. I was looking outside of myself for information when actually the information is within me. And the, actions I needed to be taking were much different than what all the gurus in the business world were telling me they needed to be. And so, that I think is the biggest gift of human design. And human design, it's based on your birth information. So similar to astrology, it's based on your birthday, time, and place. And so, the limitation is you have to know that information, at least, the birthday. Like, some people who have been, sometimes adopted in other countries have a very hard time getting their charts because there's, who knows what day, year they were born. You can use muscle testing is another way. If you're familiar with muscle testing or kinesiology, or sometimes using a pendulum can help you figure that out. But that is one of the downfalls of the human design system, is that you need the birth information.
Right. But I think most of us know. Or at least we have our moms to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. I provided you with all this information from myself, my husband, and all our 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so curious to know what it is, what those human design charts say about us. And I do this because yes, I am curious to learn more about myself, but I also want to make it easier for the listeners to understand exactly how this works.
Mm-hmm. So in human design, there are 5 different energy types, meaning on the planet, there are 5 different types of people. Now, of course, we have to look at it through conditioning, genetics. Like, it's not like there's only 5 types of people. Like, obviously, we know that that's crazy.
Right.
It's just sort of, these types give us a strategy for listening to our soul, so we know what path is correct for us. And there's 10 billion different correct paths on the planet. And really, the ultimate goal of human design is that each one of us are living our authentic selves. So the 5 types are generators, manifesting generators, manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. And your type is a generator. And so generators make up about 37% of the population, and manifesting generators make up the other 33%. So about 70% of people, so most people listening, are going to be some type of generator. Generators are here to find their passion. They're here to make a contribution to the planet. They are the builders. Their energy, their aura it's magnetic. There's always opportunities, relationships, information that is coming towards you. And so your role as a generator, so that you are actually doing the things that your soul came here to do, and that there are things that are also not going to burn out your energy, because we still only have so much time and energy on the planet, even though we know that time can be magical and we get things done in short periods of time. It's really important to follow your decision-making strategy, which for generators is a response. So if you're some type of generator, you will want to write your ideas down. You'll want to have a journal. You'll want to have a vision board, something that's outside of your brain of the things that you think you might want, because the brain is very tricky. And we know this with, depression, anxiety. We have those because our brain is a liar often and will tell us freaking crazy things about ourselves, about other people, which have zero basis in reality. And the fact that we run around trying to make decisions with our brain, considering that, is actually pretty crazy.
Right. I get goosebumps. I get just goosebumps from listening to this, because this is 100% true about me.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this on the podcast. A year and a half ago, I hired a coach, and the first thing that she taught me is to write in my journal, which I knew about so long ago, but I never actually done. And so I always say how I paid thousands of dollars to learn how to journal. But since I started journaling, my life literally changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
it's 100% out there. I mean, so the universe is a very tricky, magical thing. Like, you have to plant seeds and questions in the universe. Like,
yes,
what do I need to do next? What is my next opportunity? What would I love to do? And instead of like just going and doing it and saying, oh, I want to go on a fishing boat, or I don't know, whatever crazy idea, because especially as entrepreneurs, we often have many crazy ideas with what we're supposed to do,
right.
How we're supposed to market, we should do this and that. Don't do it unless you're a manifester. If you're a manifester, which you're not, Tori, manifestors have to kind of just throw spaghetti against the wall. They sort of have to try it to know whether that was correct for them. They're here to initiate. That's what they're here to do. But everybody else should not do that. They should wait a little bit. Wait to respond. Wait until something shows up in your outer reality, which could be a Facebook ad. It could be a newspaper. It could be a newsletter. It could be a book.
Yeah.
It could also be, if you have a coach, you could have them ask you yes or no questions. Do you want to do this? Is this the right thing for you? Do you want to do this right now? Is now the right time? Because timing is essential, because sometimes the world is not ready for what you have to offer. And that is okay. Like, it's just how evolution works. But we have to be able to sit with that and say, okay, like, now's not the right time. Is 6 months the right time? Should I ask again in 6 months? So we're always sort of tuning in to that gut voice. And for the generators, it's actually a sound. So you can tap into that even deeper by...
Oh, I know what that sound is for me. For me, it's the sound of Om.
Yeah,
Because I do yoga, that vibration that I get throughout my entire body, I totally get that. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So try practicing, because I love the Om vibration. This is similar. So try doing which is actually a similar feeling to Om, interestingly. So when something, comes your way, is it is it is it like, sometimes there is no yes or no. It's just like, I just don't know. Like, I'm not getting a hit. Like, if I ask you, do you like pickles? Do you like chocolate?
Mm-mm.
Do you like coffee?
Mm-mm.
Do you like yoga?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we want to turn on that vibration in our gut, generators need this. Manifesting generators tend to be moving a little faster, so they're gonna maybe be like, "Yep, no," like, it's like whatever the first thing out of their mouth is their truth.
Okay.
I just want to go back to your chart quick and just add to your. Okay, so you're a generator so your decision-making strategy is to respond, and you're going to use the sacral. That is the center for work, for sex, for keeping families together. You're going to be in the now. So whatever your truth is in the now is typically the answer. Some people don't have this. They need to have their truth over time. And actually, A is a manifester. So when I was speaking of manifestors, he actually needs to just throw things against the wall.
Oh, A is my husband. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he is a manifester?
He's a manifester.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And is being a manifester and a generator, are there like opposing energies? Are they complementing energies?
So it's not yes and no. Like in the chart, there's always energies. So when you look at your chart, if you see a gate, which is like a line coming off a number in one of the shapes, that's called the hanging gate. And anytime you have that, and then you come around someone that has the opposite gate, there's going to be something that happens. And it could be a good feeling, depending on how your experience of that energy is. So I would say that there's no like perfect combination. Like there's no like, oh, you should be together, you shouldn't be together. I would say there's communication strategies that each of you should be using. You should be informing, and rather than asking yes or no questions, you could say, I'm wondering if you fill in the blank. Want to do this, want to go there, want to, take this trip.
Right. He doesn't like to be told what to do. I had to figure out a way to communicate questions that sound like his response is going to be almost like he is the one who is making the decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Manifestors are here to initiate. That is what they do. Their aura. So your aura is always drawing things to you. The manifestor aura is a bit of a repelling aura, which means that they're here to impact. Like they're here to make an impact on all of us, to get the ball rolling, to get the ball started. Not always the finisher. They have a different work rest pattern than generators. So projectors, manifestors, and reflectors all have something called an open sacral, which just means that they are not here to work consistently. They can work in short bursts, they can work for short periods of time, but they need frequent breaks, often from other people, and maybe more naps than generators do. Which can be challenging, especially if you're a man and we're, taking typical traditional roles, where like, oh, like you're the guy, you should be out there making whatever the money. I'm totally generalizing here, but that's often true.
But that's 100% true with him. He's so responsible. It's interesting you're saying that, because I've noticed that my husband needs sleep. Like if he doesn't sleep, he's like a child, like a cranky child.
It's really, really important. Yeah. And I recommend, I think it's really healthy, especially if you're noticing that your energy is off in any way, you're getting burned out, you're exhausted, moms are burned out. I see it all of the time. And, I recommend sleeping by yourself. Take a few days and go sleep in a different room. Be in your own aura while you're sleeping, so that your body can really heal. Because, when we sleep with someone else, a lot of times there's snoring, a lot of times there's getting up to pee, there's movement in the bed, so we're really not getting that restful sleep, which is so essential for healing and being our own healers, to gift ourselves that. So between the two of you, manifestors need to go and lie in bed before they're tired, because what happens is they take in the energy of others. So they can seem like, oh my gosh, they're really busy, they're getting a lot done, which it just means they're sort of plugged into the motor of the world. And in order to actually rest and recharge, they have to lie down, and almost I like to envision the energy leaving that I've taken in during the day, kind of like a visualization thing, where I'm just returning anything that I took in, and I'm also pulling back any of my own energy that I left out into the world, with whoever I came in contact with that day.
This is another such, I can't believe this. Okay, you and I have to do a session. I will definitely.
Okay.
Because this is
I'm doing a special right now for the summer.
but this is like, because for years, my husband and I have noticed a pattern. Something happens at night. So we go to bed, like there's a day, you know, something happens during the day, and then something happens at night, and then we wake up and our energy is almost like flip. So let's say the other day, like the day before, I was like angry, frustrated, whatever it is, like a negative energy, and he was the one, more kind of like jumpy and energetic. Something happens at night, and obviously we communicate, we talk about it, and then something happens at night. We wake up the next day, I'm all jolly and energetic, but he is the one who picks up on my negative energy. So it's almost like, so what I thought that happens on the energetic level, and you guys know, like I talk about holistic stuff all the time on this podcast, so don't be thrown off by that. I totally believe in that kind of stuff. So I didn't know what's happening at night, because I thought both of us are opposing energies, and we are sort of like
magnets or something.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but at the same time, I know that we are a really good fit. This is 100% knowing in the body. Like my previous relationship, I've been with him for 5 years, but I knew the entire time that he is not the right guy for me. But the moment I saw my husband, I didn't even date him. I just knew he is the right person for me.
Yeah.
And so there is no doubt in my mind that we are really good and solid together.
Yeah.
It's just on the energetic level, I really want to figure out how to work with, our, I guess, talents.
Yeah. So, and human design, one more thing that I love about it is like, there's no rules. There's no, like, at least in my human design world, like there are some people in the human design world that have some very crazy rules. I look at it like, this made my life better. I'm a happier person. I'm a better mom. I am a happier wife. And, it's play. It's just an experiment. Like, I'm not like, oh, I have to do it this way because this is their human design strategy. And like, I don't do well with that. So it's just playfulness. Like, let's just experiment with something that might help. Like, it's not this, sometimes we get in this like competition of personal growth or something,
right?
Where I just can't subscribe to that. So it's like, it's just play, experiment with, asking, like, I'm wondering if you're feeling this way, if you're getting like some sort of intuitive hit. And then, like, this happened the other day, and I know this stuff. I've been doing this for like almost 8 years. So like, I should remember that, like, my husband said something to me. I'm a projector. I immediately went to guiding and directing, because that's just what I naturally do. He didn't actually want to be guided and directed. He, as a manifester, also he needed to hear himself talk and to work it out himself, because he's a manifester. He really doesn't need me to do that, because he has his own energy. Like, they're the type of kids or people that are totally fine on their own for the most part. And, so what he needed just my energy to have a new breakthrough for himself. But it was funny. Like, of course, in the moment, I'm like, what? You didn't want my awesome wisdom? And then, like, after the fact, I was like, oh, yeah.
Right. And then as women, we tend to get into that sort of like a place of like a cycle where we're like, what's wrong? Like, why? You don't want my opinion? You don't want me anymore? And it's like, totally. It's so crazy. We do that all the time.
So the thing in my head constantly is, it's not personal. Like, it's not personal. Whatever someone's reaction is to you, whatever your kids are doing, whether good or bad, it's not personal. Like, it's all a function of what they're taking in the world, what their past conditioning has been, how their parents responded to them, and a friend of mine, she's a relationship expert. She talks a lot about how we use this thing called a shtick to get what we want. And so if we think that someone's going to be a no, we do this thing to try to get them into a yes. So just like, it's just these awareness tools I think are so, so helpful, just to say like, oh my gosh, there's that shtick. It's not personal.
Right. But
It's
I can also see, because I know if I show this, for example, to my father-in-law, which he doesn't listen to the podcast, so I can talk about this. He will think like this is totally woo-woo. This is a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
What the heck are you doing? Like, because this looks and sounds a lot like tarot cards, or like you said, astrology. You shouldn't be really basing your big life decisions on that kind of stuff. This is just it's not real. It's you're projecting your own current feelings and emotions into the situation. So I can totally understand why would people think like that. So what do you have to say?
Give me his birth information, and it's like, once you start talking about the chart, and like sometimes like I'll go straight to our open energy center. So where in the chart, we're both giving and receiving of information. So we have things that are consistently us, they're consistent energy. So when we show up in a room, that's the energy that we're putting out. And then we're also, most of us have openness in our chart, where we're receiving information from other people that we begin to take on these consistent themes of behavior based on our open centers. So, sometimes going through and just calling people out on their open-centered conditioning, it's like, oh my gosh, how did you know that? Like, how did you know that you are under pressure all of the time? That you are always trying to figure things out? That you are under pressure to be free? Like, you just want to be free. You want to rush through stuff so you can be done and you can take a breath. That you want to be nice. That there's an energy for niceness there, and not wanting to make an emotional wave. So sometimes and not that sometimes human design doesn't get you at the right time. Like sometimes I've had people that have said like, oh my gosh, I had a human design reading 7 years ago and I never did anything with it. And then now you're telling me this and I get it. So it's just, timing is everything.
You have to be ready for the information.
Yeah. Right. And so I don't want to, no one's ever seen God, and yet we all somewhat believe in a bigger energy than ourselves.
That's true.
So I would say that sometimes we have to let go of logic and science, which is part of our design, but also in our design is intuitive knowing and just a felt sense of truth that may or may not have physical evidence yet behind it to say, oh, this is truth. Whatever truth means. What is truth? Who the heck knows?
So true.
Oh, all I love it is
it helped much. I love
it helped me. Much. That's it. That's all that matters. If putting painting my one big toe purple helped me, I might tell people about that, and people might paint their big toe. It's all a matter of our belief system. And if we believe that something's going to be helpful, we can see the truth in it. It's of value, whether there's a scientific backing.
I love that so much. I couldn't agree more. It's so true, because the women I work with, they're challenged with different types of diseases and illnesses. Some have cancer, some have just digestive issues, IBS, and some of them have migraines. And really what we do, we work together on viewing that and changing the perspective on seeing that as a gift and not as a punishment, as information as a way of the body teaching you something, as as the body sending you a message. Are you listening? Right? And so the more you ignore it and the more you try to silence it with medication, pills, just things that are outside of you, the stronger these symptoms are going to scream at you.
Right. And or they'll shift a little bit and to get you to see it differently.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. So guys, if you are almost like thinking how it looks like, so the chart is actually, it's just one page with like a bunch of like with two tables with numbers. I have no idea what these numbers mean. And then there's like a head, and in the middle of this head there are like different shapes, like there are triangles and squares and diamonds.
It looks kind of like if you've ever seen like the chakras.
Exactly.
Like,
So that's my
like
next question. How is this related to the chakra system? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it is its own system. Like, so it pulls in, human design is the synthesis of astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, Kabbalah, and quantum physics. So it's a conglomerate of all of this information that basically takes the premise that you were meant to be here, that you were meant to be brought into this world with these gifts and challenges on this specific day and time, and that this is the energy that showed up. And, so it's not personal, like it's not going to change either. Like oftentimes people ask like, oh, does it change over time? Or they'll say, I was a preemie. Let's just assume that divine intelligence knew that you were supposed to be a preemie and that, all the numbers are, going to be accurate over time. And it has, so in the chart, it'll say your type, which you look for is either generator, manifesting generator, projector, manifestor, reflector. Profile is basically, let's say that it's like your role. So you could be, let's say that you're in a movie and you're a mom. Let's say it's the movie Bad Moms. Like you could be the PTA mom. You could be the party mom, the single mom. They're all moms, but they play out very different roles. Then you'll see the definition. The split definition just means that when you look at the chart, there are two energy centers that are defined by a channel or a line, and they're not connected to one another. There's 4 different types of definition. The inner authority would be either sacral, splenic, emotional, none, and that's just telling you your decision-making strategy. The not self theme for generators is either frustration and anger if you're a manifesting generator. And that's just telling you, like, look out for that in your life because it's going to give you information with whether or not you're on course. So if you're getting really, really frustrated, one of 2 things, you could either be getting to your next level of learning and breakthrough, because generators have a stair-step learning curve, meaning they hit a plateau and you have to kind of push through that plateau in order to reach mastery. Or frustration could be like, nope, this isn't true anymore. Like I'm going to change this course. It was true for a time because I needed to meet these people or learn this information, and now it's not true anymore. So, and then the incarnation cross is basically like what your soul came here to do. And there's like a million of them. So if you look up the chart, you could just Google your incarnation cross.
And so if somebody wants to learn how to do it, learn how to read it, like where should they go?
So I only recommend going to Karen Curry. So if you want to read it, you can come to me. There's tons of, if you go to Karen Curry Parker, she got married. So I think she's Karen Curry Parker now. But she has a list of specialists you can work with that can go through your chart. I've done her quantum healing program. So I also use human design and the resiliency keys and tapping and EFT to clear out the stuff that's getting in the way from feeling really amazing and truly living out your life purpose. So, Karen she gets it. She's practical. She's a mom. If you want to like start bring this into your life and practice and like really studying, like I've been studying for almost 8 years now. And I still, like I study at least 3 times a week. I'm always doing like trying to learn something about the chart because, when you get it, you'll see it's like, there's so much information here.
I know. I look at it and I'm like,
yeah, if you want a really good hobby, I highly recommend.
No, I'm just going to hire you.
Yeah. Or if you don't want to put the time in. Yeah. That's that.
Yeah, no, I don't have time for this, but I'm so curious about
awesome,
this.
I think this is
a great tool. especially if you are in a fork, or if you've
Mm-hmm.
done some sort of work on yourself, you worked with a coach, you feel a little bit like enlightened a little bit. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think now I am in that place. I've worked with a coach, I've read so many books.
Yeah.
I'm very open to this information. So to me, it doesn't sound like, what the heck is that? Like, it doesn't sound like rubbish to me. I actually
Yeah.
see it as an incredible tool to learn about myself, about the dynamic between me and my husband and I. And I mean, like, we didn't even speak about how to use that information to bring the best out of our kids. Like, we didn't even touch that.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about how we can, because I mean, from their chart, we can basically know what their almost like life mission is, or like what their tendencies are. And so it's really about then tapping into supporting them and just guiding them in the right way without interfering their sole purpose, I guess. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, and also I did the family coach. So I'm also a parent coach using human design. And so my philosophy is like, our role as parents is to help our children to tap into their inner truths by giving them, very clear and safe boundaries, but that allows them to be the individuals that they are. And, you have 3 kids, like, you see how different they are, how you can't parent one the same that you parent the other, that some are just more sensitive. Like, they have, they're complex little people. And, and we want so badly for them to feel loved, to feel successful, to know how to make decisions, to understand their emotional energy, to be vital, to trust their worth and value. This is what we are doing in parenting. That's my perspective.
Yeah, my
Is
perspective
it
too.
and ugly and like crazy? And do we go back to our old habits? Like, of course, like, it's inevitable. But I think if you at least have that, like, that's my goal. Like, my kids are different. Like, I'm not parenting the same. I'm not the same mom I was to my 3rd one that I am to my 1st one. I'm just a totally different, it's like they get 2 different moms.
Right.
And so, for me, understanding, like, my oldest is a projector. She needs more time. She needs time alone. Like, she watches the iPad more than the other 2 because she just needs that time of, like, just being away from others. My other 2 are generators, and they could play all freaking day long. Like, they play until it is bedtime. And, and understanding that, like, so when there's a decision, I'm asking my generator kids yes and no questions. I'm letting them answer, like, do you want this? Do you want that? With my projector child, I'm having more open-ended dialogues with her. Like, I'm wondering if you're feeling this way, because that helps her to find her truth. I don't want them to have my truth. I want them to be able to be with their friends and know that inner voice so well that when their friends are all doing the latest stupid thing that kids do, that they, in their heart of hearts, are like, no, like, I value myself so much that I won't do that. So, that's how I use it in parenting. Like, it's still messy. Like, my kids are not at all ever perfect, but that's never really been my goal.
Exactly.
I want them
Shouldn't
to
be your goal. Yes.
Yeah. Like,
I
they still have their own journey and troubles. Like, it's not all on me. Like, they're all here to figure their own crap out.
I know. I love that so much. And again, like, in my work with women, I see that all the time of how enmeshed we are in our relationship with our kids.
Right.
How
like,
much
if they're good, we're good. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's almost like, if my kid is doing really well, it must mean that I'm this amazing mom. And so really, this is another thing of adulting, right? And knowing to transition safely into adulthood. And as an adult, I'm expected to just be my own person without needing constant affirmation from everybody else. Although it feels good sometimes.
It does.
but I guess that is the feeling that I want to cultivate in my life and with my clients too. It's that really solid mountain feeling as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, of just I know, I trust, and what can I do? How can I tap more into that so that I can be a better leader, a better mother, a better professional, a better friend, a better daughter, a better sister, a better everything, right? So I love everything you've shared so far today. This has been so amazing. I know, I mean, like, obviously we're going to do a session because I'm so intrigued, and I'm sure the listeners are too. So Jennifer, like I told you before we started recording, this podcast is divided into 2 sections. So the first one is about, whatever it is that you do, which is super interesting. And we could, I think, talk for hours and hours. And then the second part is really about giving the listeners an opportunity to meet you on a more intimate level, if you will. So I have a set of questions. Let's do that. Okay, awesome. So my first question is, the show is all about inspiring mothers to thrive as women and wives and mothers. And I like calling it showing up as a goddess or a diva in your life. And so I'm curious to know, how are you being a goddess in your own life? How do you take care of yourself, your soul, your body? What are some of your non-negotiables other than reading your own human design chart?
So first Mondays are my day. That is like goddess day, I call it, rather. I block it off. Like, I don't see clients. I row on like a water rower indoor, but that is a non-negotiable. Like, that has to happen every Monday. And I'll, take care of myself. Like, I'll go to the grocery store without my kids. Like, I refuse to take my kids to the store.
Yeah.
So I think I set those boundaries of like, I'll make my appointments. Like, I make my like breast thermography appointments because I'm too young for mammograms, but I, am passionate about being healthy in my body. I do a bone broth detox every month. And so I drink just broth for one full day, and it's like miraculous. Like, that day is amazing, and I feel like a better person, like shedding like your old skin and like bringing in just awesome new energy. But yeah, taking care, physical, and there are times when I stop, where I press pause, I get sick, so then everything goes to the wayside. And typically it's my discomfort that pushes me back over to the healthier side of things. But it's, it's important to have cheat days to know how bad you feel when you do.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Okay. Second question. In one sentence, what is your vision for your life? What are you creating? What is your life's purpose?
Yeah, I think it's really that we all have our own personal freedom to pursue what we want. And for me, it's always having a space for creative expression. So whether that's through a book, I've written a couple different, and they're not like novels, they're mini sort of self-help books. I did one with my daughter that was a children's book. Being
Are they all on your website?
They should be, if they're on Amazon also.
Okay.
So one is called Mindful Mommy, which is for new moms. One's called Thriving Mama, which is really taking the resiliency keys in human design. It's like more of a program. Then I have one for burnout. And the kids book is called Zoo Party, which is all about these new animals coming to the zoo and everybody's nervous. It's actually perfect for now, our world that we're in. Where it's like, teaching kids to be welcoming to kind to newcomers. And that was super fun.
I love that so much. I love that so much. Okay. Third question. What advice does your now mom self would have given to your pre-mommy self?
My now mom self. Just keep trying, like let go of expectations of how things are going to work out. I think we have this idea, like we're going to get a job, like we're going to do this. Like we have all these ideas where like maybe it's like it's okay to let go of the ideas. Like don't hold too tight to them, because what you're actually manifesting is going to be like a million times better. And just keep your vibe high. Like that's the most important thing, versus like always like doing the goal following. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I think my younger self is confused.
I think all of our younger selves are confused.
Oh my God. Yeah. I wish. Yeah.
And the best way to get through it is to go through it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That you have to go through the journey to realize like, oh, that's why that happened.
That's what exactly. Okay. Fourth question. Moms should invest in themselves because.
Oh my gosh. Because life is too short to say I can't afford it. Like it's so easy to be like, oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z. And then we go and spend $1,000 on our kids, whatever, tutor or like justice outfits. And there's nothing more valuable that we can give to our kids than a mom who is happy and healthy, and a mom who doesn't need them for their happiness. Like, so that the kids know like, oh, mom is fine. Like she's all good. Like I don't have to worry about her. So that they can go and just feel totally confident in the world.
Yes. Confidence is the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Fifth question. I like to keep it real and show listeners that even though someone is an expert in one area, they might be struggling with other things. So what are some of your current challenges as a woman, wife, or mother?
I mean, I think money is always a big one, as a business owner, I'm really, I'm a mom first. So like my kids, I work around my kids' schedules, which isn't necessarily how you build a really successful business. So I think it's, having not such great knowledge about like how to manage money. What should I invest in? That yes, we should invest, but in what? Like what's going to bring the most value and return? And always like anxiety, there's always a little, it's always there like, oh, is that going to come back? Is that feeling going to return? Or when is that going to return? Which steals your joy. It really does. And like, even I have a billion tools, and sometimes I forget to use them. So, no one's perfect. It's just that awareness of like, oh yeah, I'm not perfect. Oh yeah, I need to go use my EFT or whatever your tool is.
Yeah. And I'm sure you go back to your own human design chart all the time.
I do. Yeah. I mean, anytime I listen to a class, I'm like, oh yeah, like I have that. Like I just did a whole class on the identity center, the G center. So I had to go back and be like, oh, which gates do I have in that? Like, I don't remember, like even my own chart.
Right. And that's how it's supposed to be, right? Because as human beings, we are complex beings. It's not, three things that you remember about yourself and then you're like off and you thrive in your life. There are like millions of layers upon layers, and we change all the time, and we morph, and as human beings, we are incredibly intrinsic and interesting beings. And so that is the reason.
It's not like this either or. It's like if it's and like I have anxiety and, I'm going out there and I'm doing stuff that scares me, even though this anxiety is present.
Yes. Okay. My last question is really about that dynamic between mothers and daughters. So not every woman is a mother, but every mother is a daughter. So how do you think your relationship with your mom helps to shape who you are today?
Yeah. So my mom actually lives with us, which, is extremely helpful, because I think you just need more people in the house. Like when there's so many kids, like when you're outnumbered, if you can, if it's possible. And, she shapes me unconsciously. Like I watch how she, runs houses and does things that she does. But I've also been a rebel, and I've also rebelled in a lot of different areas, especially against like mom expectations. And I see that in my daughters. I see, especially my two youngest ones, like they have that rebel in them, where it's like, sometimes we have to be the rebel to be different. And, we want to create our own story that's separate from our moms. And I think it's just, trying to find that balance of, how do we blend the rebel in us with the relationship, and maintaining that, like, we can be different, but together.
I love that so much, what you said, that we can be separate beings from from our moms, because this is exactly at the core of my practice. It's so true. Because like I said, this enmeshed relationships that we still have with our own moms, and we bring that to our own families, even though we become moms ourselves. And so there is this constant, oh, what will my mom say? What would my mom think? What would my, and we always pick up the phones to our mom, which is not a bad thing, but it's really about learning how to separate and individuate yourself from your mom, so that you can get the permission to step into your embodied self as a woman who can make decisions on her own. And then you use your mom or your relationships with other women, and other mentors as a way not to validate your point, but as a way of curiosity. Like, what would you do in that situation? What would you say, right? So
and everything, like, it's different, times are changed. How, we were parented, kids are parented differently now, and our kids will feel the same way about us when they're moms.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just, we want everybody to be their authentic self. Like, that is what is going to heal the planet, is that when we love ourselves, when we can be ourselves, like, that's when things are really going to shift, not when we're in hate and difference.
Yes. Oh, Jennifer, this has been so much fun. I love talking and connecting with people like you. This is why I started this podcast, because I, in my own life, had such a craving for deeper conversations. And so it was so much fun.
Well, thank you so much.
Before I let you go, can you share a little bit about where can people find and connect with you, whether it's online, offline, maybe talk about your social media handles?
Sure.
Time for that.
Yeah. So you can find me at my website, which is www.themindfulfamily.com. And all the information is there. I also have a free Facebook group that's called the Mindful Mompreneurs. So that's another way just to stay in touch and connect with other women mompreneurs. And on Instagram, I'm Thriving Mama NJ, if you wanted to follow me there. I post
Thriving Mama NJ. Yeah. And I'll have all those links in the show notes below, so you guys can go and check Jennifer out. She's amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was so fun. I love talking human design with anybody that'll listen.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.